I know, Abby, a lot of people have been telling me that I should create a Discord. I did create my own chat system. I don't know if you ever visited, and it worked pretty well, but I don't know. I don't really like those new systems which look like Discord, and they call it creating your own Discord server, but you're not creating any server, you're just creating a basic account on their server. They have all the power, they have all the I don't know, if I feel unwary not having the full control over my server, you know. Yeah, maybe Telegram, actually. It would be a greater fit, I think. But I would have to learn these new systems first. But I can promise you this, at least. There will be some kind of a chat in some form or another. And I hope you all will join me there as my regulars. Alright, so let's see. As usual, I will begin by connecting to my Linux server. And that is Code Planet. So let's see, I will do like this, I think. And I will connect to my screen. And then I'll go to the directory. I've prepared a copy of the last code in a directory which I called, what did I call it? FSC2. Yeah, FSC2. The first one was FSC. That stands for file system encrypt or something. But it's not a file system, so no, file send encrypt, because I was planning to add something which sends this stuff over the network as well. Alright, and I will set this to my home directory, as I usually do, because it makes stuff a little bit easier. And I will also create an additional screen in the same directory. And I intend to upload this to my repo. I don't know if you have seen it. If you go to https repo drbirch.com, you will get into this page, and not everything is available for non-members, but some is, and the code of today I will make public here a couple of hours after this live stream. So repo.drbirch.com, and you will be able to download everything from today, including any libraries that we are using. Alright, so I will set this to my home, like so, and then I will connect using the Sociopath SCP client. You have probably seen this in almost every video that I use. I use this in order to code remotely in VS Code. So I just select my directory here and choose open in editor, and it will download the stuff and monitor that directory on my hard drive. So when I save, it will automatically sync that. So let's see if I can fit this stuff inside of this HD 1080 window or whatever. Let's see, like so, and I will create a new file here which I'll call fsd.c, and I will make this a little bit smaller. I hope you still are able to see this and it's not too small for you if you're watching from an iPad or something. If it is, tell me and I will make it bigger. Alright, so this is fsd.c, and I will just have this header for now and I save. And hopefully, if everything works out the way I hope, I will just... yeah, here it is. I will be able to see the file here. So every time I save or create a new file or create a new directory, etc., it will automatically sync that towards my Linux server. So I can use VS Code locally with ease. And if you want to find this program, I can show you that as well. Just a small parenthesis. You go to Google and you search for Sociopath SCP client, and you grab the first one here, and it says the graphical SCP client for Mac, but there is a Windows version as well. Linux, unfortunately not yet, but I will try to compile this for Linux when I have the time. I have a long to-do list at the moment. Alright, so now we are ready to begin the actual coding. Let me just take 1 minute and check the chat to see if there is something I need to take care of. Alright, let's just continue then. Okay, so how do we code this stuff? The Encryptor files looks like this. So in the beginning there is a 16-bit encrypted number, and this number decides how much of the upcoming bytes to skip. So if this is, let's say this number is 5, and then I have a lot of random data here. What we are going to do is we're going to skip the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can just delete that, poof. And then we're going to decrypt this stuff. One thing I forgot. We are going to decrypt this stuff, but when we decrypt the first thing here, it is the password in hashed format. So basically we decrypt this and we get some kind of a hash, and then we use this to verify that we have the correct password. It's a little bit hard to show just like this, but I will show you when we get to that part of the code. I'm sure you will understand then. Alright, so let's see, how do we do this? Let's create an age file. It makes life easier. So we do fsd.h, and as usual I put in some kind of header here, fsd.h, and I want to include a whole bunch of stuff. So we start with the standard IO. I do also want the standard library, and I will want the uni.std.h. I might need some string handling, so I will use string.h. And what else? I need the assert. The assert is a function which checks a specific condition, and if it's false, it will exit the program. So it makes programs like this that I code on camera a little bit easier to write without a lot of error handling and stuff. But usually in production you wouldn't use this. And when I use this, I do also want to include some other stuff like rnumber.h, which makes for some additional functions. And in order for those to be working correctly, we need to include the new source up here. It's basically one function which is called assert p error. In order to get this function, you need the assert, you need the error number, but you also need this definition. Let's see, there is a question, two questions actually. Anyone please tell me which one is the predecessor video of this decryption topic? Alright, can any one of you help shove out with it that it should be a video which is called creating a file encryptor. I think it's like that. And the second question, do you have a community on Discord? We were discussing this just a couple of minutes ago. No, I did have a chat, a chat server, which I created myself, but it didn't work out too well. I did a little bit of bad, what should I call it, marketing. So it never really left the ground, so to speak. Yes, we can have a video on RPC framework. Please remind me at the end of this live stream and I will add it to my list. But no, we don't have a Discord community or Telegram, but we were discussing that perhaps we should create a Telegram community. I just need to learn that platform first. I only use it to read some blogs and stuff. I don't know how to use it myself. 52 minutes, that sounds about right. There is a sequel to it as well, which is called something like Keep Writing a File Encryptor or something. But the first video, 52, sounds right. Alright, so I will continue now. I have included the things that I usually use. I think I'm gonna do something like, yeah. I would also like to have the std_bool.h so I can use booleans. I will not use the standard int though. I like defining those myself, so I will do that. So, for example, an unsigned char will be int 8. I will also define an unsigned int as int 32, and in between I want to do unsigned short int as int 16, and I do also want a type def unsigned long int, which is int 64, and the number is how many bits big or wide those integers are. So this is a basic standard int, and this is one which takes 0 to 255. This takes 0 to 65,535. The regular int goes to like 4.3 billion or something, and 64 bits is so big I have no clue. A lot of numbers. Alright, so let's include this file. Include, and I called it fsd.h, like so. Let's also create some function definitions. At the moment we do only have our main, and our main will take an int and a char double star, like usual. Right, and let's create an empty main for now. Like that. Return 0, just so we have something to try compiling with. And I do already have one of those. Let's see, make files. Okay, I don't see it here. Let's create one from scratch. I will just do it fast, so we don't waste all the time on creating make files. It's an art, you can work on it forever, but I just want a simple one. So I will have flags, some optimization, and error messaging. I do also want to use the new C2X standard. Some LD flags. We want to use a library, which basically is, let's see, LR4. That is my own RC4 implementation, an encryption library I wrote in C. There's a video about that as well. Alright, and as I mentioned before, I will make this public, and I will make this code public on my repo a couple of hours after this live stream, and it will be up for 48 hours. Alright, so let's see. Okay, so we begin with the fst.o, which has the dependency of fst.c. We compile this by running cc with the flags, and we are taking the input parameter with -c in front. When we have the O file, we can create the binary fst, which depends on the O file. Let's make this depend on the fst.h2, and then we need to change this to this, because this means the source, but if you have multiple sources, it will mean both of them, and I don't want to use the H file when I compile. So then we can use this, which also means the source, but only the first one. Alright, so when we have the O file, we can compile the binary by running cc with our flags. Then we take the input and we do -o output, and this is the output variable, so this one, or the output file rather. And if we were able to zoom in a little bit on this @ sign, you would see that it looks pretty much like the thing you throw your darts onto, and that's why it's used for the target. Quite good memory rule. And we might also need some LD flags here. And to make our lives easier, we will also have a clean, which simply removes all the .o files as well as the fst binary. We will have an all, which is just the we will run clean first and then run the fst. And both of those are not producing anything on their own, so we will mark them as phony. And this ought to be the whole thing, I think. Minus any errors, perhaps. Let's see if it compiles. Did it upload? Yes, we have a makefile. And if we run make... Right. I haven't configured my... On this computer, I maybe have not Yeah, I think I should have done that. Let me see what it says. Makefile has changed, successfully updated to server. Maybe I picked the wrong file name. I'm trying to compile the old thing, perhaps. fsd.c, fsd.h, fsd.o. Why does it give me error messages on things I haven't even used? fse cat makefile. No, that's the old one. Maybe I haven't configured Sociopath on this computer to handle makefiles, because in the configuration, I can show you the configuration file. If we go to the Sociopath directory in your home, there is a config.json, and if you go to the end, you will see all the different files that it should monitor when you... Because let's say you have a big website and you want to open that directory in your editor. You don't want Sociopath to download all your images and video files and whatnot. You just wanted to download your code, right? So this is how it distinguishes for that. And usually I do something like add a line like makefile, so I can edit a makefile as well and get it uploaded. But I forgot to do this on this installation, and I don't want to restart my Sociopath now. So I will do some kind of a hack instead. Let's see if I can just rename this file to, let's say, makefile.c or something, and add something like this and save. And now it should have uploaded, I believe. Didn't I? Let's see what it says. It didn't react. Maybe it didn't save. Now it saved. Now it reacted. Am I in the wrong directory or something? 10 fsd2. Where am I blind? Is it here? The funny thing is, this program has always worked perfectly. Let's try it once more. That's very weird, actually. Makefiles. Oh wait, I'm I created it in the wrong folder. That's why. It's, you see, it's outside of this directory, right? So we can probably rename this again. That was not the problem, I believe. And let's move this thing into there. Yes, move. And now you see it jump to the right. Right, so if we add a space and we save, this time it updated, it says. Did it? Now we have a makefile here, and it is our new one. Great. Okay, so it was a user error. Even if you have done this stuff for a long time, you still do mistakes like this. Okay, so let's run make clean, and let's run make, and it's compiled, and we have our binary. So now everything on that front is working according to plan. All right, so let's see, how do we begin? What do we want to do? We want to, let's see, FSD, FSE, FSD, okay, that's right. And we want to have a program which takes one path at the command line, or perhaps two paths. Let's create a usage function to make it a little bit clearer. So this function will just print to the screen the usage. Maybe we should send the string as well, the argv, or just arg. So we will run the name of the program, followed by source file, or source file name perhaps, destination, or let's remove file name. I think that's pretty clear. So we go from source to destination. And let's add the arg here. So if we inside of the main have less than 3 arguments, because even the first one counts, the file name. And if we do, we will just do the usage. We send our argument. We need to send it as a char. And we return -1. Otherwise, we will have 2 variables. Let's call them source file, dest file. And as you can see, I use int8 pointers as strings. That's the same as char. Because I defined it here, right? Typedef unsigned char int8. Alright, so if we have those, we will just set source file to the int8 casted. That's right, this should be int8 as well. The int8 casted first argument. And same with the destination file, which will be the second. So now we have basically set up this stuff. Let's move down a little bit so I have space. And I will show you a little bit in pseudocode what we need to do, and then I will replace each of these lines one at a time when we are actually coding the functions. And that is a very good idea if you want to know or have tips how to structure your program. I get a lot of questions. How do I structure a real world application? And I think this is a good way. The first thing I always do is I define my different data types. It's not a lot of them today, but I do that. And I try to make them as expressive as possible. And then I do this pseudocode stuff. So first we want to initialize the crypto. And in order to do that, we need to read the password, or let's call it a key. We need to read the key from the keyboard, and we want to read it without echoing it to the screen. So that's one thing we have to account for. And then we will initialize the crypto, the encryption algorithm. When we have initialized that, we will decrypt, what should we call it? Decrypt int 16. Because as I mentioned earlier, the first 16 bits of every encrypted file using this application, it will tell how many bytes to skip. Because I want to save a encrypted or a hashed password inside of this file, so I can verify that you are using the correct password or key. And I want to hide that hash somewhere in the file, not at the same place every time. Because if I hide it, it will be very difficult to find it and try to break it if you don't have the key. So it adds security. So basically we will decrypt that and use that int16 to skip bytes. And this will be something like 1 to 65,535, something like that. And when we have skipped the bytes, we will read the hash, and we will also, so all this data is encrypted, right? So we will decrypt it as we go. Even the hash will be encrypted, and that's really unnecessary actually, but it makes it easier to code this program, and I don't see any drawbacks with it. Alright, so we read the hash, we verify the hash. So if this is the same as the key that we read, then we will carry on. If it's not, then we can display an error message. And then we'll simply decrypt rest of file and save everything from here on to disk, right? So this is just to verify that we have the right password. This is what should be saved onto the disk. This is the encrypted file. Okay, that's quite a lot of information in one go. Let me just ask you in the chat to see if you have understand what I said, and if you have any questions. So let's see. FJS, that is a good question. I mentioned it in passing in some other video, I think, that yes, they do provide these exact types, but they have one huge drawback. Anyone knows what it is? Anyone might have heard me say it before. Why do I not use the standard int.h? Any guesses? The correct answer is the name. The name is the drawback. It has an underscore in it, and I am allergic to underscores. I loathe underscores. There is nothing that slows down your typing more than trying to type that stupid character. So I never use any underscores. I never use any capital letters either, basically. Because reaching shift while you're trying to type, no thank you. So at least not on a Swedish keyboard. So that's why I don't use standard int. I define them my own without those annoying underscores. Did you ever finish the encrypted executable video? Yes, I did. So there are two episodes about that. The first one's the 52-minute episode which is named something like creating your own file encryptor or something. And the second video is called keeping coding on a file encryptor, something like that. If anyone finds the sequel, please put it in the chat. If you are allowed to put links in the chat, I'm not sure actually, but try it out at least. Have you ever worked with OpenGL? No, I'm not really a graphics kind of guy. I like console stuff. C++ projects also. I get that a lot actually, but no, I don't know that language. I kind of skipped it. I know C and I know C sharp, but I never learned C++. So that will probably never happen actually. But all my C code, basically all my C code, will be compilable with a C++ compiler. So it's not really a problem, I think. And if it's not compilable, you probably just need to alter some minor thing or so. Simple engine. Alright, that's pretty impressive. Ben, that's good. We are the console guys. There is so much diff between C and C++. Yeah, it's quite a lot of rather bloated functionality in C++, but the basic structures are the same. You see C++ used in the industry. I'm not very good at career advice and similar things, but yeah, of course it's used in the industry. 90% of the code in the whole world is C. And the other 5% is probably C++. So yeah, it's used in the industry. Did you learn anything useful today? And do you want to support this channel? Go to drbirch.com/support. You can also click the button Become a Member. Thank you for your support. Alright, so let's continue our journey into the encryption world. Where were we? Right here. Okay, so this is what we need to implement. Those pseudocode kind of function. So let's begin. First, read the key. And I actually already wrote this function when I did the file encryptor. So I think I will just... I don't like copying code, not even my own code, but that was a rather boring function to write actually, so I think I will just do that in this case. So let's see, fsc.c, and you will get access to this code. Right, here it is. Change echo and secure run. No, that's not it. Read key. Here it is. So let's copy this thing. XP, and let's go inside of here and add it on the top somewhere, right here perhaps. So we need the read key, and there was one more function, right? This one. Let's remove this stuff. And let's just copy this whole thing. I hope this code works. I'm not sure how far I got with this, but I remember I did finish the encryptor, right? So, because this is a project that I did a long time ago. It seems like eons, but it was probably like half year or so. Let's paste this here, and let's update our H file. So we added the usage. I don't think I put that here. Don't save. Let's see. So we have void usage, and it takes an int8 pointer, like so. And what else? We had some kind of, let's just take this line. Yes, I'm talking to my cat a little bit here. He usually decides when I work or not, so because he jumps all over my keyboard when I don't give him the correct answer that he's looking for. Alright, so let's see. Void change echo, and this is a bool. I like that word, bool. And then we have the read key, like so. Let's just put it right here, like that. No, like that. And this is a char, actually. Why did I make it a char? I think I will change this to, oh, no looks. Not right now, okay? Let's see. So, where was I? This should be an int8 pointer instead. I think I want that. And it gives an int8 pointer back, right? Alright, so let's remember to alter this thing. This should be an int8. And that makes... Oh, nej, Lux. 1 second. Lux, nu får du lugna dig. Okej? Och så måste arbeta. Sorry. He is very determined sometimes. He jumps all over my things here. And I can't shut the door either, because then he's sitting outside and crying basically. So we need to change this to an int8. And let's see. Memset of we read. We need to cast this one since we changed the types. And this one too. And it should be an int8 here, and yeah. The rest is okay, I think. We need this though. What did I do now? Undo. This should be char as well. Alright, let's see. Okay, I did not copy the whole thing, but what will this return? It can't return a whole lot of different things. It must be P, right? Okay, so now we have functions for that. Let's make sure they work. Int 8, and this is some temporary thing just to check if this works. And we need to make a comment out of this thing. We can remove that. Alright. Anyone knows how many it's watching this live stream at the moment? I can't really check that, because when I tried doing that before, the sound started to loop through my web browser. So if anyone can check that and put it in the chat, I would be very glad. Alright, so temp will be equal to, what did I call it? Read key, right? Yeah, read key. And this will call change echo. So read key. Read key, and we give it some kind of a prompt, which needs to be int 8 casted. So let's say key. And then we will just print it to the screen afterwards to see that it works. Key is %s, and this is a char representation of TNP. And we return 0. So, okay, let's see if this works. So we make clean, move down a little bit, we run make. Oh, that's something. Invalid application of size of. Okay, so this function didn't really work as well as I was hoping. Where is that size of? This should be okay, I think. Which line was it? Size of 14 in fsd.c. 14. Maybe it's just because I haven't included the terminals. That's probably it. So let's see. We go inside of here and we include, I think it's called terminals.h. That's a library which handles like the terminals and stuff, so we can remove that echo when we type the password. Alright, let's see if that removes the first error. Oh, almost every error went away. Unused variable, and that's it. Okay, that's good. If we run this thing, and we just type whatever here, it asks for a password, ABC. Okay, it just reads one character, and it does not remove the echo. Let's see the chat, by the way. If you... Okay, 15. Missing struct definition. That was it. Good call. I am making a file decrypting software. 18 watching. Okay, it goes in the right direction then, I think. Alright, so this terminal stuff is really boring to get to work. It's like those annoying structures that you never really know how to fill them out. Let's see, we get everything to the T, and if enabled, let's see, if it is enabled, we OR the echo. Should be the other way around, right? Because we want to remove the echo if it's enabled, and we want to add the echo otherwise. Think so, right? Must be. But why did it react the way it did? It was just receiving one character. That's usually because we are messing up the rest of the structure somehow. Because there is one option. If we go to man termios, I think, there is an option here somewhere which will... I'm not going to go through everything, but there is an option, believe me, and that will read one character at a time instead of a whole line at a time, which is the default. So that is probably what is happening, that I'm accidentally sending the wrong thing and overwriting that variable, or that part, that bit of the variable. Okay, so let's see what happens now. If we run this again, okay, same problem. Let's see, what am I doing here? First I run the tcget attribute, and I send a 0 and t. That should give me this structure back. Let's not make this a pointer. I don't really see why I should do that. We don't need to malloc this thing or free it. And let's send the reference of this stack variable instead. And let's do the same here. Maybe that's it. Maybe I sent the address instead of... But I don't think so. Okay, we need to change that because it's not a pointer. So this arrow, it's only for pointers. When we use regular variables, we just use a dot, like TypeScript or something. Alright, so let's run and let's try it out. Same problem. Okay, it wasn't that. I didn't think it was that, but now we at least have it a little bit better. So let's check out this function, tcget attribute. And it takes an fd, and it takes... okay, that's why I send the 0. Because the 0 is a standard file descriptor, which is always open, and it's the keyboard, basically. And then we send this reference to structure. And then we do the set operation. It's still an FD. It's still... no, it's an optional actions. And then it's the structure. And how did I do it? 0, 0, T. I think that looks right. I actually coded this very same function a couple of weeks ago when I was coding on runlock, because I wrote this in assembly. Maybe we can check the assembly code and see what we are doing wrong. Where do we have this? I'm sure I uploaded it here somewhere. maybe here, asm. No, it's not here. Do you see runlock PM MNOPQRST? It's not in the temp directory, it's in the code, of course. So do we have it directly here? Runlock. Here's some files though, but directory runlock. Here we go. Alright, so let's see, where did I put that? It must be inside of the utilities, but let's take the whole directory. So we do, and this is also a good thing with this tool. Even though I'm currently watching the other directory, I can add as many as I want. If you create additional processes of this, if you start this program like 3 times and you get 3 windows like this, then you can connect to 3 different servers, and you can code remotely on all 3 of them at the same time in the same VS Code window. Let's see, runlock, open in editor, and now it just downloads the code. I hope I did put .asm in my config file, but I think I did. And then I will just put it here and add it as a workspace. And now I have access to the code. So let's minimize this SCP thing. And the interesting part is not here, because I don't show the ASM. I do show the ASM H though. Why is that? It's ending in H, that's probably why. Alright, but let's take the actual file then. Where was I? Here. Runlock and util.asm. And it says I don't know the ASM files, but I can choose an application. And it's called Visual Studio Code, right? Or is it just code? Code. So if I double click again, that's right. Okay. So here is part of the runlock code. I will make this stuff public when I am done writing this tool, but I'm halfway through or a little bit more. And this is basically a include library or whatever, where I put a lot of different utility functions and stuff that I might be able to use in several projects. And here is the example of the Termios structure that I'm currently working with. So let's check out the function for that. Read one, read, exit, reset terminal. No, that's not it. I think I scrolled a little bit too fast. Here's get password. So what does it do? It runs echo off. And that's basically what we want to do. And echo off is a macro which is included inside of the H file. But I was able to reach the H file, right? That's right here. Right, so let's search this file for echo off. And what does it do? It runs another macro which is called secho, and it gives the argument through. Let's see. tc get s push. So this is my variable for the structure, so to say. And we call this ioctl command. Okay, I've made it a little bit more low level than in the C code. I'm not calling the terminal's functions, I'm calling the system call in the kernel directly. Perhaps that is easier. Let's see, EX, ECX, EDX, EBX. And what do I do with this input if we want to set this? I will simply do an AND operation. That's right. Alright, so let's try to replicate this. First of all, we need that structure I showed you before. This one. And as you might imagine, we can't use that right on or whatever. I don't know how to say it. We need to modify it a little bit, right? Because it's a different syntax. So this is basically a variable. It's 20 bytes in size. And then we have, okay, this is not related to what we were doing now, I think. I think we are actually, I copied the wrong thing. Didn't I? Yeah, this is what we need. Lux, var snäll nu. Husse måste arbeta, du vet att jag vill det. Oh, we are actually on overtime. As I mentioned before, I intend to do a lot of these spontaneous live streams at different hours. And my goal is to have like an hour or something, depending on how much time I have at that specific moment. I will not end this right away, but it's about an hour. That's what I was planning, and I will always use this to continue on an old project like today. And I will make my new projects as regular videos, but I will publish the live stream recordings a couple of days after. Alright, so let's see. If we just paste this thing here, let's see if we can handle this. So all of these are, DD means it's a 32-bit integer. So that's pretty easy to handle. This will be an int32, int32. Alright, sorry, I think I need to have to take care of my cat now. He decides when I work and when I not work. But there will be a new stream very soon, and I will continue this program, this project. I will also publish this code in a couple of hours on the repo. You know the repo, you find it here, repo.drbirch.com. And it will be publicly available even for non-members for 48 hours. And hope you liked this episode. If you did, please like and subscribe. And thanks for watching. Thanks for today.